She was rejected for being barren until the Alpha King claimed me in front of the entire pack. Ira walked alone beneath the silver glow of the moon. The forest whispered around her, leaves rustling like soft secrets. She wrapped her cloak tighter around her, though the chill was nothing compared to the cold that had settled in her heart. For as long as she could remember, she had been the shadow of the pack, the woman who carried no children and therefore no legacy. The nobles sneered, the elders whispered, and even strangers looked at her with pity or disdain. In the eyes of her world, she was incomplete. The village beyond the trees had already gone quiet. Candlelight flickered in the windows of the few houses still awake, casting long shadows that seemed to mock her solitude. She paused at the edge of the clearing, staring up at the castle perched atop the hill. Its towers pierced the night sky like jagged teeth. Within those walls, power breathed and roamed. Within those walls lived Kalen, the Alpha King, feared by all, worshipped by many, and known for his merciless strength. Ira had seen him only once before, at a gathering when she had been forced to attend as part of her noble duties. He had stood apart from the others, his dark eyes scanning the crowd, his presence alone silencing the room. People said he could feel the smallest lie, see the slightest weakness, and punish it without hesitation. And yet, there was a strange pull in her chest whenever she remembered him, a mixture of fear and fascination she could not explain. Tonight, she had no choice but to return to the castle. The elders had summoned her to the full moon ritual, a ceremony where the pack's women were examined and judged. Ira dreaded it more than any other gathering. She knew the moment she stepped into the hall, all eyes would find her, and all judgment would fall upon her. As she approached the castle, the torches lining the path flared in the wind, casting her shadow long and trembling. She held her head high, though her heart thumped like a wild drum. She had to endure this as she always had. The doors opened with a heavy groan, and the hall stretched out before her, filled with faces both familiar and cruel. The elders wasted no time. Their voices rose above the low murmurs of the pack, sharp as ice. "Ira," one of them called, voice echoing in the vast hall, "you stand before us yet again, empty-handed. Do you think your presence honors the pack? Do you think your barrenness is not a blemish upon our lineage?" A few laughed softly, others shook their heads, eyes narrowing in disgust. Ira's hands clenched at her sides. She had faced this countless times before, yet each insult felt like fire against her skin. She swallowed the rising sting of tears and straightened her spine. "I am here to honor the pack," she said, voice trembling only slightly, "even if I cannot bring new life to it." A ripple of snickers swept through the hall. One elder, older than the rest and with eyes sharper than daggers, leaned forward. "Empty words, girl. The pack must be strong. Only those who bear heirs can claim respect, power, or even place." Ira's throat tightened. Her mind raced, imagining what she would say next, how she could defend herself, but the words failed her. She felt the heat of shame crawling over her skin like a living thing. She wanted to disappear, to run into the forest and vanish forever, yet her feet stayed rooted. She could not move, and then a hush fell over the hall. Ira felt it before she saw it, the shift of the room, the quiet that comes when a storm is about to break. Kalen stepped forward. His presence was sudden and undeniable. The hall seemed to shrink around him as though the very walls respected his command. He did not rush or raise his voice. He simply walked, each step deliberate until he stopped before her. "Enough," he said. His voice was calm, yet every syllable struck like a hammer. The elders froze, the laughter died, and even the bravest among the pack lowered their eyes. "This girl carries herself with more strength than you know," he said, looking at Ira directly. She felt her chest tighten under the intensity of his gaze. It was not pity or mockery she saw there, but something else, a recognition she could not yet name. The hall murmured. Whispers flew like wind over dry leaves. "The Alpha King has claimed her," someone breathed. Kalen's hand gestured lightly, not as a command but as a declaration. "I claim her," he said, voice carrying over the stunned crowd. "Not because she bears no children, not because she is alone or shunned, but because she is mine." The room erupted. Gasps, protests, and shocked cries filled the air. "How dare you?" one elder shouted. "She is barren, you cannot." Kalen raised a hand. The sound of silence fell like a wave. "I am the Alpha," he said, "and my choice is law." Ira could not move. Her mind spun in disbelief. She had imagined every kind of insult, every humiliation, but never this. Never that the most feared man in the kingdom, the Alpha King himself, would claim her in front of the entire pack. Her heart pounded, a mixture of fear, confusion, and against all reason, a strange thrill. He leaned slightly closer. "Do you understand?" he asked, his dark eyes piercing hers. "You will not be defined by their judgment anymore. You are not theirs to mock or dismiss. You belong to me." Ira's breath caught. She wanted to speak, to refuse, to run, but the words lodged in her throat. She realized she had never been seen like this before, not truly, not by anyone. His claim was more than power. It was recognition, an acknowledgement of her worth that no one else had given. The elders seethed, the pack whispered, and Kalen's gaze never left hers. "Tonight," he said, "we begin anew. Let the pack learn that strength is measured not by blood alone, but by courage, by heart, and by loyalty." Ira felt her pulse race. She wanted to step back, to hide from the weight of attention, but she couldn't. His words filled her with something strange and dangerous, a sense of belonging, yet also responsibility. She was no longer just a shadow. She was the claim of the Alpha King, and that changed everything. Later, as the ceremony ended and the pack dispersed in murmurs and whispers, Ira walked behind Kalen through the halls of the castle. Every eye that followed them reminded her that she was no longer invisible. Every glance, every murmur carried judgment and curiosity. Yet beside her, Kalen moved with quiet assurance, as if he owned not just the castle but the world. He spoke for the first time since the hall had emptied. "Do not let them define you," he said softly. "You are more than their ridicule. You will learn that soon." Ira nodded, unsure whether she believed him. She had lived her life believing she was less than everyone else. Could she truly accept this? Could she accept him? The night stretched long, the castle silent but for the distant howl of wolves. Ira could not sleep. She wandered the halls alone, tracing the tapestries and ancient relics that lined the walls. Every shadow seemed alive, and every whisper of the wind seemed to speak her name. She felt the weight of destiny pressing down, heavy yet exhilarating. Finally, she paused before a high window overlooking the forest. The moonlight bathed her in silver glow, and she shivered, not from the cold, but from the realization that her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a woman rejected for being barren. She was claimed, chosen, and watched. Her heart was a storm of fear and curiosity, longing and uncertainty. She knew the pack would never forgive her, never see her the same way again. Yet there was a strange thrill in the thought that someone had chosen her, not for what she could give, but for who she was. From the shadows of the forest, the distant howl of a wolf answered her silent wonder, echoing like a promise. And somewhere deep within, Ira felt the first flicker of something she had not known in years, hope. But the night was not done. Somewhere in the castle, Kalen's eyes were watching, patient and unwavering. And in the corners of the halls, whispers of magic and old curses stirred. Ira did not know it yet, but the choice of the Alpha King would not only change her life, it would awaken powers, dangers, and a destiny she had never imagined. The moon climbed higher, casting long, silver shadows across the castle walls. Ira pressed her hand against the cool glass, feeling the pull of something larger than herself. She was caught between fear and fascination, rejection and belonging. And for the first time, she realized that the night was only the beginning. A faint wind carried a whisper through the corridors, barely audible but impossible to ignore. The bond has begun, but the trial is coming. Ira turned sharply, heart racing, eyes wide. Somewhere in the distance, a shadow moved, faster than any human could run. And she understood, with a chill she could not shake, that her life, her power, and her very future were about to be tested like never before. Ira awoke to the soft glow of dawn, filtering through the tall windows of the Alpha King's chamber. The night had been restless, filled with echoes of whispered warnings and the pounding of her own heart. She had never slept in a room so grand, nor had she ever felt so watched, though the presence of Kaelin in the castle made her simultaneously uneasy and protected. Kaelin was already awake when she rose, standing by the balcony, looking over the forest that stretched like a dark sea under the morning light. His expression was unreadable, a mask of calm that never betrayed the storm within. Ira's fingers tightened around the edge of her cloak. She felt small and uncertain, yet there was something compelling about the way he carried himself, as if the world itself bent to his will. "Ira," he said without turning. His voice was low, carrying across the chamber like a steady drumbeat. "Come, there is much you need to understand." She hesitated, then stepped forward. The floor beneath her feet seemed to hum with quiet energy, as though the castle itself recognized her presence. Kaelin led her through corridors lined with tapestries depicting long-forgotten battles and the ancient lineage of the Alpha Kings. Every step seemed to weigh upon her, the history pressing down, the ghosts of the past whispering through the walls. They entered a smaller chamber, dimly lit by enchanted crystals that cast shifting shadows across the stone. In the center was a table carved from dark oak, etched with strange symbols that seemed to pulse faintly. Kaelin gestured for her to sit. "This room," he began, "is older than any living member of our pack. It holds knowledge, power, and truth, and it is here you will learn why your life and your blood matter far more than you have been told." Ira felt a shiver run down her spine. "My blood," she repeated, unsure whether she wanted to hear the answer. Kaelin's gaze held hers, steady and intense. "The curse upon your family, upon many women of this land, is not natural. It was placed centuries ago by a witch who sought revenge against the line of the Alpha Kings. She bound fertility to her magic, twisting the fates of those she chose to punish." Ira's mind struggled to comprehend. "So, my barrenness, it is not my fault." "No," Kaelin said. "It is not your fault, but it is your trial, and perhaps your gift." Her brow furrowed. "Gift? How can this be a gift?" He moved closer, placing a hand on the table near hers, not touching her but close enough that the air between them seemed to crackle. "Because within you lies power that can break this curse. The same power the witch feared. It has been dormant, waiting for someone strong enough, brave enough, and wise enough to awaken it." Ira swallowed hard, a mixture of fear and awe rising in her chest. "And you think I can awaken it?" "I do," he said simply. "But it will not be easy. It will require trust, discipline, and courage. And you will have to face yourself, every fear you have ever carried, every pain they have caused you. Only then will your strength emerge." Ira felt a flicker of determination ignite in her heart. For years, she had been told she was weak, useless, and unwanted. Now the Alpha King himself believed in her. But alongside that belief was the weight of responsibility, and the shadows of the curse that threatened to consume her if she failed. Kaelin led her to the courtyard, where the morning mist clung to the ground like silver smoke. Wolves, both ordinary and mystical, roamed freely, their eyes glinting with intelligence and loyalty. Kaelin's own wolf, a massive silver beast with eyes like molten gold, padded silently to his side. "This is the first step," he said. "You must learn to connect with the energy of the pack. The bond between Alpha and Chosen is stronger than mere words. It flows through blood, through intention, and through will. You will feel it, or you will be lost." Ira took a deep breath. The scent of earth and fur filled her senses. She knelt slowly, extending her hand toward the silver wolf. It hesitated, sniffing her carefully before nudging her palm with its nose. She felt a spark, small, almost imperceptible, but it made her heart leap. Kalen watched silently. "Good," he said. "Feel it. Let it move through you, trust it. Do not resist." For hours, they moved together through the misty courtyard. Kalen guided her through exercises of focus and energy, teaching her to sense the subtle flows of power around her. Sometimes she stumbled, exhausted, trembling under the effort, and he did not offer comfort, only steady, unwavering guidance. And yet with each success, each flicker of energy that responded to her will, Ira felt herself growing, not just in strength, but in confidence, in awareness. As the sun began to rise higher, casting golden light across the stones, Ira paused to catch her breath. Her arms ached, her mind spun, yet she felt alive. For the first time, she believed she might truly be more than what the pack had told her. Kalen approached, and for a moment the tension between them shifted. There was no ceremony here, no judgment, only two people standing close under the pale morning light. "You are stronger than you realize," he said softly, "and your heart is braver than most men I have known." Ira's cheeks flushed, not from exertion but from the weight of his words. She wanted to speak, to respond, yet the words seemed small compared to the power she felt surging through her. Instead, she only nodded, and he allowed the silence to linger, unbroken. Their training continued for several days. Each morning brought new challenges, rituals to awaken her latent power, meditations to strengthen her connection to the pack, and tests that pushed both her mind and body to the limit. Slowly, the walls she had built around herself began to crumble. She felt capable, sharp, and alive. Yet with each passing day, the tension between her and Kalen grew. Every glance carried unspoken meaning. Every proximity felt like fire against ice. One evening, as the full moon rose over the forest, Kalen led her to the edge of the sacred grove. The trees formed a natural circle, their branches interwoven like fingers guarding the sky. In the center lay a pool of water that shimmered with silver light. "This is where the true trial begins," he said, voice low and serious. "You must enter the pool. Let the water test your courage, your fears, your heart. It will show you what you must overcome and what you truly desire." Ira hesitated, staring at the reflective surface. She saw herself, not just the woman the pack had rejected, but the woman Kalen had claimed. Strength and fear intertwined, dancing together in the silver light. She swallowed hard, then stepped forward. The water was colder than she expected, biting at her skin and stealing her breath. But she did not retreat. She submerged herself, feeling the energy of the grove, the pulse of the pack, and the presence of Kalen guiding her. Images flashed before her eyes, visions of failure, of ridicule, of loss, but also of courage, of resilience, and of connection. She emerged gasping, heart pounding, and saw Kalen waiting at the edge, his expression unreadable. "You have begun," he said quietly. "The path will not be easy, but you are ready to face it." Ira felt a surge of pride, but also a gnawing unease. The visions in the water had shown her more than she could understand. There were shadows, lurking deeper than any curse, and she had glimpsed them. They were waiting, patient, and hungry. That night, as she lay in her chamber, sleep eluded her. She thought of the pack, of the elders, of the witches who had cursed her ancestors. She thought of Kalen, his claim, his strength, and the strange warmth she felt in his presence. And she knew deep down that her life was no longer her own. Somewhere in the castle, a door creaked open. A shadow moved silently through the corridors, faster than any human could run. Ira sensed it, a cold whisper along her spine. Her power stirred instinctively, responding to the danger she could not yet see. She rose, moving to the window, heart racing. In the moonlight, she saw a figure vanish into the forest, leaving behind only the rustle of leaves and a faint, lingering chill. Kalen appeared silently behind her. "You felt it," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with intensity. "The threat is closer than we imagined. The curse is not done, and there are those who would see you fail, who would see both of us destroyed. Ira met his gaze, courage and fear mingling in her chest. Then I will not fail, she whispered. I will fight. Kalen's expression softened just slightly, almost imperceptibly. Good, he said. Because the bond we share and the power you carry will be tested in ways you cannot yet imagine. And when it is, you must trust me and yourself completely. The wind howled outside, carrying the scent of the forest and something older, darker, and unseen. Ira felt her heart tighten. She had begun to awaken, to claim her strength, and to step into the destiny Kalen had revealed. But the shadows were already moving, circling, waiting for the moment when fear and doubt might claim her. Her pulse quickened as she whispered to herself, I am not the girl they said I was. I am not nothing. And somewhere deep in the castle, unseen, the shadow watched, silent and patient, ready to strike. The full moon hung high over the forest, casting silver light over the castle and the trees beyond. The air thrummed with energy, as though the world itself held its breath. Ira stood at the edge of the sacred grove, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. Tonight, the curse that had haunted her bloodline for generations would either be broken or consume her. Kalen stepped beside her, tall and imposing, yet calm in a way that anchored her. His hand brushed against hers briefly, a silent promise of support, and Ira felt a surge of courage she had never known before. The wolves of the pack gathered around them, eyes gleaming, sensing the significance of the night. Even the silver wolf at Kalen's side let out a low, resonant growl, warning that power was stirring in the shadows. The curse is older than any of us, Kalen said softly, his voice carrying over the grove. It was born of vengeance, hatred, and dark magic. It has tried to shape your life to control you, but it has not defeated you. Not yet. Ira swallowed hard. The visions in the pool of water haunted her still, the shadows, the whispers, the sense of looming danger. She had trained, she had awakened, yet she knew the real trial awaited. What will I face? She asked. Kalen's gaze softened, but there was steel beneath it. The curse will show you your deepest fears. It will test your heart, your will, and the bond we share. You must trust yourself and me. Ira nodded. Her pulse raced, but she felt ready. She was no longer the girl scorned by the pack, no longer the woman defined by barrenness. She was something more, stronger, determined. Together, they stepped into the center of the grove, where a circle of ancient stones glowed faintly under the moonlight. The air thickened with magic, a swirling energy that made the hair on her arms stand. She felt the power inside her stir, responding to the pull of the ancient curse. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced, dark and twisting, forming shapes that flickered like smoke. The voice of the witch who had cast the curse echoed through the grove, low and cruel. You think you can undo me, girl? You are nothing, weak, worthless. You will fail as all before you have failed. Ira's heart clenched, but she did not step back. She reached out with her mind and her spirit, letting the energy within her rise. The power was raw, wild, but she had trained, she had focused, she had embraced it. It answered her call. You are wrong, she said, voice clear and steady. I am not nothing. I am not weak. I am me. Kalen stood beside her, his presence steady, his own power flowing into hers like a current. Together, he said, we are stronger together. The shadows writhed and hissed, trying to push her back, trying to drown her in doubt and fear. Ira closed her eyes, breathing deeply, letting the connection to Kalen and to the pack ground her. She could feel the energy of the forest, the blood of her ancestors, the courage that had carried her through years of rejection. She let it all flow through her, shaping it into a force of light that pushed against the darkness. The witch's voice grew louder, desperate, angry. You cannot do this. The power was never yours. Ira opened her eyes and the shadows recoiled. She stepped forward, raising her hands, and the energy surged outward, filling the grove with brilliant silver light. The shadows screamed and twisted, unable to withstand the strength of her will. She felt the curse unraveling thread by thread, its hold over her and the women of her lineage breaking at last. Kalen reached for her hand, holding it tightly. "You've done it," he said, voice full of awe and relief. "You've broken the curse." Ira fell to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. Tears ran down her cheeks, not from fear or shame, but from relief and joy. She had fought, endured, and won. The weight of generations of pain had been lifted from her shoulders. She was free. The pack gathered around the grove, silent and watchful. For the first time they looked at her with respect rather than disdain. Whispers spread quickly. The girl who had been rejected was no longer just a shadow. She was the one who had broken the curse. Kalen helped her to her feet, his gaze meeting hers. "Do you understand now?" he asked softly. "You are more than they ever believed, you always were, and I see you fully." Ira's heart fluttered. She had longed for recognition, for someone to see her for who she truly was, and here it was, not pity, not fear, but respect and admiration from the Alpha King himself. I see it now," she whispered. "I see who I am, and I see us." Kalen stepped closer, and for a moment the world seemed to narrow to just the two of them, the silver light of the moon wrapping them in its glow. "Then you understand why I claimed you," he said. "Because I saw the strength in you before anyone else could. And because I need you not as a symbol but as my equal." Ira felt warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of relief, pride, and something tender and fierce. I trust you," she said, "and I will stand with you, always." The silver wolf at Kalen's side let out a low, approving howl, echoing through the grove. The other wolves joined, their voices rising in a harmonious, haunting chorus that seemed to bless the moment. Ira felt a sense of belonging she had never known, a connection to the pack, to the forest, to Kalen, and to her own emerging power. But even as triumph filled her heart, a chill wind swept through the trees. The shadows of the forest shifted, and Ira felt a stir of unease. The curse was broken, yes, but magic never truly dies. Old forces linger, patient and watchful, waiting for opportunity. Kalen noticed the tension in her eyes. "What is it?" he asked. Ira shook her head, trying to dispel the thought. "Nothing, just a shadow," she said, though the memory of the strange figure in the castle hall still lingered. Kalen's gaze hardened. "We must remain vigilant. The curse is gone, but the world has other dangers, forces that will test us in ways we cannot yet imagine." Ira nodded, determination burning in her chest. She had faced rejection, fear, and magic older than time itself. She would face whatever came next. She had the strength, the pack, and Kalen at her side. Together they were unstoppable. As dawn broke, casting golden light over the forest and the castle, Kalen and Ira walked to the edge of the grove. She looked out at the land spread below, the kingdom that had once scorned her, now a world she could face with courage. Kalen reached for her hand, and this time the touch was more than guidance. It was partnership, promise, and trust. "We have much to do," he said. "The pack must know that power is not just blood. That strength comes from heart, from courage, and from unity." Ira squeezed his hand. "Then we will teach them together." They returned to the castle, side by side, and the pack gathered to witness them. This time there were no whispers of shame, only awe. Ira's presence radiated strength, her newfound confidence evident in every step. She met the eyes of the elders who had mocked her, and for the first time she did not shrink. She held her head high. Kalen stood beside her, silent and powerful, his claim no longer just a declaration of possession, but a recognition of mutual respect and shared destiny. The pack bowed, acknowledging the union of power and courage, of strength and heart. Ira felt the warmth of triumph, of belonging, and of love. She had been rejected, scorned, and shunned, yet she had risen above it all. The curse that had defined her life was broken, but more importantly, she had discovered her own power, her own voice, and her place in the world. And as she looked up at Kalen, she realized that the greatest journey was not just breaking the curse. It was claiming her own heart, embracing her destiny, and standing unafraid beside the Alpha King who had chosen her, not because of tradition, but because he saw who she truly was. The sun rose fully over the forest, casting light on a new era for the pack. Ira and Kalen stood together, ready to face whatever came next, their bond stronger than fear, stronger than magic, and stronger than the shadows that lingered beyond the grove. And somewhere in the forest, unseen but ever watchful, the winds carried a whisper. The trial is over, but the story has only begun.